call the July 7th, 2015 Will County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mike Carruthers, Joliet Township.
Here.
Scott Lager, Homer Township.
Here.
Kim Mitchell, Shanahan Township. Here. Barbara Peterson, Washington Township is here. Hugh Stippen, Frankfurt Township. Here. Tom White, Troy Township.
Here.
Chairman Lindalone, Manhattan Township.
Here. In your package, you have the meeting minutes for June 16, 2015. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And I abstain. Because I was not here for that meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Secretary, do you have any announcements?
Mr. Chairman, variance cases heard this evening will be determined by this commission. The remaining cases will advance to the Land Use Committee hearing, which is tomorrow morning. Normally, there's at least 7 days of a spread, but because of I don't know, not the holiday, no, our board. The scheduling of the Land Use Committee will meet here in this room at 9:30 tomorrow morning. That's basically.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to swear everybody in mass who's going to give testimony tonight before the board. So at this time, I ask you to raise your right hand if you're going to give testimony and say I do after I swear you in. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I do. Thank you. This time, we ask that you turn your cell phones off. Larger cases, we will give a 5-minute limit on testimony, and we ask objectors or concerned citizens to limit their comments to objections not already heard by previous objectors or concerned citizens. This time, we'll go to our agenda. First case on the agenda, 6220-MSD. We've had a request to continue this case to August 4th, 2015. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. First case on the agenda will be opened up by Natalie from our staff. We have 4 requests. We have a request for a map amendment, and we have a request for 3 variances. Donna Pastami, owner of record, and Miles Jacob, attorney. Kimberly?
I'm Natalie. Thank you, Chairman Balone. Good evening, Commission members. Zoning case 6239, MV3, takes place in Joliet Township. The applicant is requesting a map amendment from C2 to C3, as well as 3 variances that will bring the property into compliance with C3 law standards, including a variance for west front yard setback from 100 feet to 69.53 feet, a variance for south front yard setback from 100 feet to 47.68 feet, and a variance for north side yard setback from 10 feet to 7.06 feet. The purpose of the map amendment request is to allow for used car sales. Please note the zoning case is evaluating the requested C3 map amendment, not the specific proposed business. Displayed is an aerial view of the subject property. It is located on the northeast corner of East Washington Street and Park Road. The area is a commercial corridor within a residential neighborhood. Uses in the area include a tavern, car wash, general store, and phone store. Displayed are photos of the subject property and surrounding area. A building exists in the northeast corner of the lot. Means of ingress and egress exist along Washington Street as well as Park Road. Displayed is a zoning map of the area. The subject property is currently zoned C2. Zoning classifications in the general area include C2, C1, and R5. The nearest C3 zoning is approximately 1/2 mile south of the subject property. Displayed is the plat of survey for the subject property. In red are the requested setbacks. The applicant wishes to keep the existing building in use and is therefore requesting variances in conjunction with the map amendment request in order to bring the property into compliance with C3 setback requirements. It is staff's professional opinion that the requested map amendment and variances comply with the Will County zoning ordinance review criteria. Staff finds that the subject property is located in the commercial corridor. C2 and C3 permitted uses are similar, as listed in your staff report. The size of the parcel limits the intensity of permitted C3 uses, and the requested variances address setback requirements of the C3 zoning district. Staff recommends approval of the map amendment from C2 to C3, as well as the requested variance for west front yard setback from 100 feet to 69.54 feet, south front yard setback from 100 feet to 47.68 feet, and north side yard setback from 10 feet to 7.06 feet. That concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you, Natalie. Is there any questions of staff? Okay. Before I proceed, I'd just like to ask the people that are in attendance today, are there any people that are objectors or concerned citizens on this particular case? There are. Okay. This time I'd like to call the applicant down. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Miles Jacobs. I'm an attorney in Joliet, Illinois, with the law firm of Castle Law.
Okay. Staff has recommended approval. Do you have anything to add?
Not really. I think their report is concise and very comprehensive, and does address the issues that we had. We definitely don't want to do anything but use the car lot. We feel it fits in what's there presently. We feel it's important that this building be utilized. It won't be torn down, so we think that's a plus, and it'll be a very small car lot. It's not going to be a huge production.
Okay. Is the applicant also here tonight, or are you just...
Yes, no, they're here.
Okay, what I want to do is this. Why don't you take a seat right over there. We're going to call down the objectors and the concerned citizens, and we'll give you a chance to respond once they give their testimony.
Very good.
For the first objector or concerned citizen, please come down. Can we bring the aerial up of the property? Could you please take your name for the record?
My name is Jesse Barnstable, and I'm a neighbor of this property.
Okay. You join the property right next door?
Yes, I have two properties next to it.
Okay.
And I'm not an objector, I'm a concerned citizen.
Okay.
I have no objection for the C2 to C3. The only thing is I would like to make sure that they don't have 50 cars on this little lot. That they don't have, take my fence down, the fence down between my lot and their lot. That they don't have, they're going to have two businesses in the store. Are they going to leave traffic spaces for people coming in and out of the store, the phone store? These are my concerns. I could have talked to the people themselves, but I want to make it public what I wanted to make concerns. My concerns public is the only thing. Like I say, I have no problem with the C2 to C3 because it's almost impossible to get the variances, the distance between the front road and the building, toward the building line, still don't have it. So it's impossible to get that. So I want people to encourage themselves to go into business and do business, but I just want to make sure that the business does not disrupt the neighborhood.
Okay, so your main concern is the amount of cars on the property and
how we're going to handle the two businesses in one building.
Okay. Natalie, is there any kind of restrictions on the limit of number of cars you can put on that property?
We do.
It should be on.
Is it on now? Am I
Yes, just
not
speak,
talking?
yeah, speak
Okay,
a little louder.
I'll just talk really loud. We do have parking lot requirements, and there is a section in our ordinance that does address car lots. I can assure you that if you did end up filing a complaint about the number of cars, that would be addressed, and it is a safety concern, so we would address that.
See, all I want to make sure here is that the people that are going to start the car lot know that I don't want to make complaints. So I like them to know where I'm standing up front, so that which never going to happen because they're going to be good people, they're going to be good neighbors.
Sure, what you're saying is if you could fit 22 cars on there, you don't want to see 42.
Exactly.
So I'll tell you what you could do. You could get Natalie's,
Oh, we have it.
you have her number?
Yes.
So you can talk to her directly if you have any questions about exactly how many cars you fit on that.
Right, well, like I said, I have no objection at all between the C2 to C3. I just want to have concerns about what may be oversized. We have students walking back and forth on the street to school. I don't want to see a double stacked car on a corner where you can't see around the corner when you drive around the corner. It is a corner lot. Just certain thing like that I'm sure that the owner and I can get together and talk about after we met before. We talked before, so we have a cordial agreement right now. But just want to make sure that those things are on record, so if I have to do complain sometime, it will be understood what I'm complaining about.
Well, as far as the corner lot, I can't quote me exactly, but I do believe there's some type of standard that needs to be where there has to be a sight line on the corner. I don't know if it's 75 feet. David, can you speak for that or no?
You're doing away with that on the variance.
I'm talking about the sight line in the corner. I'm not talking about the variances.
The zoning ordinance does have a vision clearance of Centerline Road, 75 foot from the intersection, perpendicular lines in each direction. And basically, effectively, what does that mean? It means there's a portion of the lot on the corner that cannot be obstructed with material, landscaping, and things of that nature that would obstruct the view of motor vehicles or pedestrians.
So that should address your concern. That has nothing to do with the variances. That has something to do with street traffic and the vision line on that corner of 75 feet from the center line of the road each way. You should be able to see across that lot and see 75 feet down the road. If you don't understand it, David can explain it to you later.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Do you have anything to add, sir? Would you like to respond, Mr. Jacobs, or do you?
Well, the response is that I asked my clients about the same thing, and they assured me that this is not going to be a huge parking lot, a used car lot, and they know and very much even mentioned to me about the fact that they had to leave parking for, number one, their clients, which includes the building and the right to look. They have to have a place to stop. So their intent is not to have a lot of cars on the lot at any one time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other objectors or concerned citizens? Okay, thank you. This time on case 6239-MV3, I'd like to entertain a motion for request of map amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case number 6239-MV3 for the township section 13, a map amendment from C2 to C3.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have a request for a variance.
Mr. Chairman, the same request for a map variance for west front yard setback from 100 feet to 69.54 feet.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have a second request of variance.
Mr. Chairman, any motion for the same case number and variance for a south front yard setback from 100 feet to 47.68 feet.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have a third request of variance.
Mr. Chairman, same motion for variance from north side yard setback from 10 feet to 7.06 feet.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I do believe we have some paperwork for you, sir, before you leave. Mr. Jacobs?
Yes?
Before you leave, we do have some paperwork for you to take with you.
Okay. You want me to come downstairs?
No, I think she went
Next case on the agenda, opened by Natalie from our staff. case 6240-SB2. We have a request for a special use permit and a request for 2 variances. Natalie?
Thank you, Chairman Ballum. The subject property of zoning case 6240-SB2 is located in Plainfield Township. The applicant is requesting a special use permit for a drive-through facility as well as 2 variances. The first variance is for menu boards sign setback from residential zoning districts from 75 feet to 72.09 feet. The second variance is for 1,000 feet or greater of street frontage to 574.22 feet of street frontage required for 2 freestanding signs. The purpose of this request is to allow for a drive-through facility and to bring the property into compliance with all applicable Will County zoning ordinances. Displayed is an aerial view of the subject property. The property is located south of Route 30, east of Spangler Road, and west of South Frontage Road. Generally, the property is located at the southwest corner of I-55 and Route 30. The property is in close proximity to the village of Plainfield and the city of Joliet. Displayed are photos of the subject property and surrounding area. A gas station exists on the property currently. On the rear property line exists a land use buffer which abuts a single-family residence. The proposed drive-through will be placed in the rear of the existing gas station structure along the land use buffer. 2 freestanding signs currently exist on the property. The property contains 574.22 feet of street frontage, which allows for 1 freestanding sign per Will County zoning ordinance. However, the second freestanding sign that exists is deemed a legal nonconformity. In order for the applicant to expand sign 2, which is displayed in photo 5, to include the new drive-through tenant, the applicant is requesting a variance for required street frontage that would allow for the second freestanding sign. This variance would bring both signs into compliance. Displayed is a zoning map of the surrounding area. The property is currently zoned C2. Northwest of the property is A1, vacant land displayed in green. Northeast of the subject property is the city of Joliet, which is zoned B3, general business. To the southwest is R3, single-family residential in yellow, and to the southeast is a public right-of-way along South Frontage Road. Displayed is the site plan for the proposed drive-through facility. The drive-through will exist north of the land use buffer. The menu board will be 72.09 feet from the property line of the single-family residence to the south. 2 freestanding signs currently exist, one along Route 30 and the other along South Frontage Road. It is staff's professional opinion that the request for special use permit and variances comply with the Will County zoning ordinance review criteria. Staff recommends approval of a special use permit for drive-through facility with conditions. There are 2 conditions. The first, operating hours of the drive-through facility shall be limited from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The second condition is adequate directional signs must be installed at entrances to guide drive-through traffic. Directional signage must be in compliance with section 155-13.30-B of the Will County zoning ordinance. Staff also recommends approval of the variance for menu board sign setback for residential zoning districts from 75 feet to 72.09 feet, and staff recommends approval of variance for 1,000 feet or greater of street frontage to 574.22 feet of street frontage required for 2 freestanding signs. That concludes staff's analysis.
Natalie, that berm that you're showing on there, on the previous slide, how tall is that landscape buffer? Is it a berm or just a landscape buffer?
It includes mature trees. It's somewhat elevated. It's relatively flat. I wouldn't call it a berm, but there is mature vegetation, including evergreen trees.
Okay. I just have some concern about, typically with a drive-through, you have a speaker and I just have some concern.
It also includes a fence, a wooden fence.
I understand, but I just like to know how layered it's going to be. But I'm just thinking about the speaker and the homes that live behind it. There, people are, can I take your order? Do you want 2 coffees? Somebody's in there. If someone's sitting in their backyard, they get it all day long. I just wonder how good that buffer is actually going to be. How many feet is that buffer between that and the other lot line? I can't see that. It's approximately.
So the lot line
Is that an alley there?
No, the property extends a little bit further, as you can see from the land use buffer. There is quite a bit of space in between. The variance for the menu board setback is from 75 feet, which is what is required, to 72 feet. So So there is 72 feet between the menu board and the residence property line, not just the house.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any objectors or concerned citizens? There are. Would the applicant please come down? Okay, whose home is that?
I think it was our director's. I don't.
Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to have one at the podium at a time. And,
Good evening, I'm Russ Press. I'm the owner and operator of the mobile gas station, and I'll be leasing the building, or the portion of the building to the tenant.
is there certainly a gas station on the property?
Yeah, I'm an existing C-store operator.
There's two businesses on one property?
Yes, yes. And prior to that, I had actually a ice cream and sub shop that I ran. Ran it for about 5 years and then subsequently closed it. Prior to us opening the operation in October of '91, Amoco had the site and had a full service gas station and sit down restaurant in the facility. Closed it in the mid '80s with the oil crisis, and then reopened in October of '91 as just a convenience store. And then I opened the Shorty Subs and Ice Cream probably 4 years later, ran it for about 7 years and then closed it. So the property's been a service station restaurant for,
Dual use.
yeah, a long
Has there
time.
been any other, of these other businesses, any of them have a drive-through?
Well, the service station did have, service space.
I don't need that.
But no, I did not have a drive-through. It was a walk-in, sit-down facility.
Okay.
Yes, this would be new to us, the drive-through on the backside.
You understand my concern about the speaker?
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, it's,
And so
do they make those speakers where they're, a certain decibel where it's not so obtrusive to the, that's one thing I'm concerned about. If I lived there, that's the first thing I'd be thinking about when I'm listening to that thing asking for 2 coffees.
Yeah. Now, most of the residents in the houses directly behind me, Georgette and Kevin have been there for a number of years. Prior to that, the truck stop operated, and I was the general manager across the street. And we had a PA system that echoed all the way through the neighborhood. So that noise is going to be, somewhat there all the time. The interstate, the DOT has put a noise barrier wall up along the interstate because of the traffic through. And DOT is now expanding the frontage road plus Route 30 into a 5-lane. So traffic and noise is going to be an issue no matter what. And I understand their concerns. I'd be in the same ballpark. There's a similar operation in off of Route 59 in the strip mall, where their drive-through is on the back of the strip mall with a residential facility behind it.
What I'm saying is I understand this is what you want to do, but I understand that there's ways that you can mitigate some of that noise just to be a good neighbor.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Georgette and Kevin are concerned maybe a solid fence, which John and I can discuss that with no problem. I mean, you don't want bad neighbors, so we definitely don't want that.
What's the current tax plan?
Well, we haven't had anything yet in the respect that, we've got to get all the zoning and everything approved. They would, right now it's a wood fence. When we reopened in '91, Al actually put our fence at probably, I'm guessing, close to 30 feet off the property line to give the residents that buffer. Georgette and Kevin have planted a number of evergreens that really soften it quite a bit. The state came and took a lot of the trees out that we were using for a buffer zone too. So hopefully, they will replant some of that stuff on that side of the frontage to lower it. So.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Do you have anything to answer? Please say your name for the record.
Sure. My name is John Luxem. I'm the owner-operator of the Dunkin' Donuts facility that's proposing to go into this location. This isn't the first time we've run into this across, I own 30 locations across Illinois. We recently opened one in the town of Arlington Heights, similar issue with a condominium right behind the restaurant. And we've had no issues. The intercom system does have a volume control setting on it for that explicit purpose to make sure that there's no overreaching sounds to the neighborhood either way. We propose 6 a.m. to 8. Actually, we do 75% of our business before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's not going to be much where people are sitting in their backyards in the evening time hearing anything, really. I'm pretty confident of that. But we feel that with the 75 feet, actually in Arlington Heights, I believe we're only about 50 feet from the property line in Arlington Heights. And the town of Arlington Heights had the same concerns. And we've been open for almost a year now and have had not one complaint from the neighbors on that location.
Yeah, that's good. Sometimes if you're opening that many of these stores, it might be good to bring that type of information with you when you move to the next meeting if you're planning on opening more.
For sure.
What is the footage at this location?
I think the proposed is 72 feet where our menu board and speaker would be from the property line.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you. Do you have any concerned citizens or objectors? Please step down. You can sit down in those chairs and give a chance to respond. You're next. We have the overhead view. Yes.
Apologize.
That one, no, one down there.
This one here?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kevin Lane. I'm the property owner right behind the Amoco station.
Okay.
I'm sorry, mobile station. And anyway, according to the site plan, as proposed, it's showing an existing 7-foot fence to remain. Well, that is actually a 6-foot fence. Shadow box type construction, 1x6 alternating on either side. So it's quite permeable as far as sound goes. It's attractive, it served its purpose, when it was a gas station. Now that there will be a drive-through with traffic in the back, I don't think that's going to serve a useful purpose as far as trying to keep the roar down. So I have no objection in principle to this, other than it doesn't impact my property values or those of my neighbors. And I guess that's about all I have to say.
You're concerned about the fence is what you're concerned is.
Yeah, if it were a solid fence of something of more substantial height, I think that'd go a long way to keep from impacting my property.
I think that they're limited by 6 feet unless it's a special request to the county, because we've had those come in where people want 8-foot fences and they have to get it approved, just so you're aware of that. So if they're at 6 and they say it's 7, they're probably better off at 6 because that's what they can do.
The existing fence is 20 plus years old. It's not really evidenced in the photos that have been presented, but a lot of the panels are missing.
All right, well, we'll have them respond and see what they're going to do about that, and then we'll take it from there. So that's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Smith Jr. I live next to the existing neighbors right behind the gas station. My concern is the speaker volume also, and the hours of operation, and where is the staff going to hang out for breaks and stuff? Are they going to be in the back talking loudly, you know? Those are my concerns.
Your main concern is the noise.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll have to ask the applicant, being at the gas station already, I'm sure the hours are extended into the evening already, are they not?
Yes, but it's not, you can't hear the people gassing up or anything like that. What I'm asking is, most of the time when you have a break, you're outside. I don't worry about the noise, because I work nights. So a lot of times during the day I'm sleeping or whatever, my windows open when it's nights like tonight. So that's my concern, is the noise.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, you know, we're going to have him bring that up. And you heard what he said, that he has 30 of these restaurants, these Dunkin' Donuts restaurants around, and he's had one of our Arlington Heights. And, you know, we need our staff to check to see if there's been any complaints we can do that. But I'm just thinking that, you know, it looks like they want to make this a go and want to be a good neighbor. And I understand your bleeding. That's the first thing I would say is, how much noise am I? You heard what I said earlier.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to be like you say, well, we're only got, our business, most of it goes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, you know what? There's some people that come home at 7 o'clock in the morning when I go to sleep.
Correct.
So I understand that too.
Well, if we can do that on 4, if we, you know, so complaints that they can take care of that.
And any other concerned citizens or objectors? Would you like to come up and respond to what the concerned citizens had to bring up?
Sure. As far as the fence, you know, if it needs to be repaired or replaced to accommodate the noise levels, we're definitely willing to look into doing that. You know, I don't know the condition or the age of the fence, you know, offhand, maybe Russ does. But as far as the comment about employees and breaks, my employees will not be outside on break at any point in time. It's not allowed. I don't think anybody wants to pull into any restaurant and see the employees on break somewhere doing something not supposed to be done.
Are they full-time employees or part-time?
It'll be a mixture. The management and the you know, the senior employees would be full-time, and there'll be some part-timers sprinkled in. And the other unique thing that I'd like to bring up about this this situation is one of the gentlemen who would be overseeing this location, one of my district managers, happens to live in that subdivision, right behind the gas station. So he's plenty aware of not alienating his neighbors. He lives on that same street. He's a part of the community. He's part of the neighborhood. Russ is in the neighborhood. We're not looking to be a nuisance or cause a problem, and we would address any issues that arose
You've seen the fence? You know what a shadow box fence is?
Yeah. I know what a shadow box fence is, yeah. I can't speak to the ability of that fence to, you know, prohibit sound from traveling, but, you know, I'm willing to take a look at it and see what we got to do to make it so it doesn't.
So we're all good neighbors?
Absolutely.
Anything to add? Or any other questions of the applicants from staff? Okay, thank you.
Staff would like to point out that you
Your mic is on.
I swear I'm louder than this.
The county's on a budget, okay? So we don't have to call you up so high.
Maybe I should get these speakers.
Yeah.
Staff would like to point out that the commission can condition a fence requirement. In this district, 8 feet is allowable until you get closer to the street, is my interpretation. It would need to go down to 4 feet towards the street, but it can be up to 8 feet. So if the commission would like to address that concern, perhaps with a taller fence requirement, you can add that as a condition.
Did everybody hear that? Which,
Currently, there's 2 conditions, so you could add everything.
Well,
It's up to the commission.
I personally would like to give the owner an opportunity to take a look at everything. He seems like he's more than willing to go along with whatever has to be done for this facility to work well in the neighborhood. That's my own personal feeling.
I agree, I think they'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
to
I
make it work,
don't
so
think that an
I don't
extra
know, but-
condition in this instance is needed, really. But whatever the commission as a whole decides upon, I'm willing to go along with, but I personally don't think it's necessary. They appear to be very reputable, especially that last statement, the district manager living right there in the neighborhood. To me, that's the biggest plus of any business, so.
And Joe's been employed by him for a number of years.
10 years he's worked for me, so.
Yeah, fair enough, too. When these points are brought up, and I understand what you're saying, we could remedy it, but the points are brought up for a reason, so the people, they're the same points that the people want to hear. But with him having 30 locations already, he's already dealt with the situation. And I'm taking him for his word that he's not having any complaints up at Arlington Heights, so, I believe him, and I think that if there's a problem with it, then we'll address it at that point. Okay, thank you.
But thank you for that information.
Case 6240-SV2, I'd like to entertain a motion for requested special use permit with the conditions as listed.
Mr. Chair, with regard to case 6240-SV2, I'd like to make a motion for approval of a special use permit for drive-through facility which follow with 2 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have a request for variance.
Chairman, same case number, make a motion for approval of a variance for menu board sign setback from residential zoning district from 75 feet to 72.09.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have a request for a second variance.
Chairman, same case number, make a motion for approval of a variance for 1,000 feet or greater of street frontage to 574.22 feet of street frontage required for 2 freestanding.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I do want to say that, you know what, being a good neighbor is one of the things that we profess up here, and that's where most of our problems come from. So, with you with 30 locations, I'm hoping that you be a good neighbor to the people there. And if there is that problem, that you could keep your lines of communication open with these people, that if they come knocking on the door saying, hey, let's talk about this, that we do that, okay?
Without question.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. We have some paperwork for you. You ever live next door to a lousy neighbor? It's a lot more fun to be a good neighbor, have a good neighbor next to you.
Anybody see you?
Okay. Next case on the agenda, case 6244-B2. We have a request for 2 variances. Natalie, from our staff, will open the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Balone. Before I present the case, staff would like to note an error in the notices. Jessica Jeers was indicated as attorney on the application and newspaper publication for zoning case 6244-B2. However, Ms. Jeers' title is leasing and zoning manager. Also, this case will be continued to the Land Use Committee and County Board. The subject property for zoning case 6244-B2 is located in Frankfort Township. The applicant is requesting a variance for cell tower height from 75 feet to 105 feet, as well as a variance for lot area from 2 acres to 38,459.5 square feet. The purpose of this request is to allow for the construction of a cell phone tower. This case requires county board approval, as I have mentioned. You've been provided with a memo that contains letters from the Village of Frankfort and Dennis Grove. The Village of Frankfort has requested the case be continued in order to allow for more time for village staff to review the request. Please refer to the memo for details. Displayed is an aerial view of the surrounding area. The subject property is located south of Lincoln Highway and west of South Hillside Road. The surrounding area includes business and residential uses. Displayed are photos of the subject property and surrounding area. The subject property is vacant with an access drive to Lincoln Highway. Photos 2 and 3 on the right are looking along Route 30. Displayed is a zoning map of the property. The subject property is zoned R2 and abuts R2 zoning to the east. West and south of the property is incorporated parcels with the Village of Frankfort. A business is located on the incorporated parcels. North of the subject property across Lincoln Highway is zoned C1. Displayed is a plat of survey provided by the applicant. In red is where the proposed leased parcel will be. The proposed cell tower will be constructed in the southwest corner of the leased parcel. Based on the information provided by National Wireless Ventures LLC, the requested variants are due to unique circumstances. It is also staff's professional opinion that the requested variances will not alter the essential character of the locality. Staff recommends approval of variance for cell tower height from 75 feet to 105 feet, and for a variance for lot area from 2 acres to 38,459.5 square feet. That concludes staff's analysis.
Natalie, can you, with the letters that we got, can you talk about, there was a comment saying that people were not notified in regards to this case. Mr. Grove, can you, I think you brought up before staff, before the meeting that this was not a contiguous property. Can you go over, can we bring up that map so we can just show where that's at? Yes.
On the list of abutting property owners provided by staff, Dennis Grove was not on that list.
Okay.
However, there are sign posting requirements and publication in the newspaper requirements, which I believe Barb collected the paperwork for the newspaper and for the certified mail.
Okay. Thank you.
What's the nature of the business to the west, immediately to the west? It looks like there's some vehicles parked, commercial, like a commercial yard or something.
I believe it's landscaping.
Landscape.
Any other questions? Okay. Are there any objectors or concerned citizens on the staff? Okay. Will the applicant please come down?
The applicant?
The applicant please come down,
Okay.
please. There's three of them. Please say your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Robert Stapleton. I live at 1900 West Acre Road, Joliet, Illinois, 60435. I am the president and CEO of National Wireless Ventures.
Okay. You, staff recommending approval. Do you have any comments?
I'm just going to make a comment regarding the request by Frankfort on the proposal. We had conversations with Jeff Cook, the Frankfort Community Development Director, at the request of staff several weeks ago. So Frankfort's been well aware of this application for some time. So for my concern on that, I don't know, what your thoughts are on that. And regarding the letter from Dennis Grove and the attachments from the FCC, basically that the letter or the report clearly distinguishes other items away from the nature of the wireless industry, being that we operate at specific frequencies, and we are obligated under the law, in the event of interference, we have to correct that interference within 24 hours. In most cases, the interference comes from outside of us, where it's interfering with our signal. T-Mobile and the other carriers have spent a lot of money in purchasing the frequency from the federal government, and we're required to operate within that spectrum license.
How many towers does that company currently have?
Well, Horvath Communications is actually the builder of the tower. The wireless industry over the past 3 years have
I'm
made...
not talking about the wireless, I'm talking about this particular company that's going to own this tower. How
How many towers do they have?
Yes.
They probably have well over 600 towers.
Okay. All right, I tell you what, unless you have anything else, is there any questions that you'd like to ask of the applicant at this time? What we're going to do is we're going to have you sit down and
Sure.
we'll give you a chance to respond.
Understand. Thank you very much.
Will the first objector please come down? What we'll have is have you, folks could speak, but one at a time, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, my name is Gina Arns. I live just directly south of where the tower is proposed to be built. This morning was my first indication that this tower is ever going to be erected. I didn't get anything in the mail. The only thing I saw was a little sign on Lincoln Highway. That was
Is your property abut this property?
Yes, I'm 21146. So my backyard goes right there.
Do you have the pointer that you could show it so we can?
I'm a last long property measure. My concern is
excuse me, yeah, we define the property, I think it's in red there, that the tower is proposed to be on this property. And where's your property at now?
So that whole big square section is also part of the landscaping. Our back end of the property butts up to the landscaping site that they plan on putting this tower.
Let me ask you, David, with those two other properties, those triangle properties being part of the landscaping business, there are separate pins that they wouldn't have to notify anybody but them?
We have to look directly at ownership and go across ownership. So if there's the same person owns the abutting properties, then you go beyond the same ownership to the next property.
So you go to the next property too? Okay, so she's saying she's just south of there. Is that she should be notified?
That's something we have to verify, that there's different ownership or same ownership, and make a determination. But I know Mr. Grove is not, I don't know if Mr. Grove's here present or not. I guess the attorney, if we're supposed to be notified, if you're supposed to be notified and we're not, the state's attorney's office, I guess, that's Matt, though you're present, you're here, you know about the meeting. So I'm not sure.
Well, I'm here because I was called by a neighbor and went down on Lincoln Highway.
I mean, I understand, but I'm saying you are here and you know about the meeting.
Right, I am here, thank God. I wish I could have been a little bit more prepared for this, but my concern is, as well as my neighbor's concerned, we have children and we're very concerned about the ill effects this may have on our families. Many reports have been written about negative health effects from these said towers. Sleep problems to cancer. I purchased this property that just yards away from the proposed site a year ago because of the beautiful land that surrounds it. My children and my neighbor's children spend most days outside and enjoying their yards. As a mom, my main goal in life is to be sure that they are safe from harm. This includes dangerous towers in their backyards. I am not completely sure of the effects of these towers, but I am sure that they are not necessary. They are ugly, interfere with Wi-Fi and other cell phones, and reduce our property values. And most importantly, we do not yet know what effects it has on our health. I say we leave well enough alone, keep Frankfurt beautiful and safe. If you can trump these reasons for why we need cell phone towers in our backyards so badly, then I would like to hear. Other than lining the pockets of our already wealthy cell phone companies is my only guess right now. I ask you this, would you approve one of these towers in your backyard? There has to be another solution, maybe an open area away from residential housing. Thank you for your time, and once again, I just am concerned of, not so much for the site of it, but just the ill effects that it may have. We don't know what kind of radiation or whatever these towers emit, and it is honestly just hundreds of yards away from our properties. That yellow is all those are residential properties. And it's going to go right up between everybody's backyard. Like I said, I ask you this, would you be concerned if it was going up in your yards? Thank you.
Please take your name, sir.
Dan Arns, neighbor. I live at 21146 Hillside Road. I also was not aware of this until today when my wife had called me at work. I have concerns as well as reasons not to have this tower built. One, being a resident, moving out to Frankfurt to give my kids better than what was given to me as a child. The use of this land, I guess this project, in my eyes, has already started, because 6 months ago, this landscaping company started backfilling this proposed cell tower site, and they started backfilling it. I assumed, and I'm sure the rest of the neighbors assumed, they were just backfilling it to maybe expand their landscaping business. Other concerns were with the backfill, Natalie Creek that runs just to the south of that. It's kind of hard to see on the photo. Concerns with there not being enough lowland for the water to flow, which will start, flooding our yards as well. I did a little bit of research, and just like my wife said, we didn't have enough time. This was kind of blindsided by us today. That there's FCC enacted requirements that all new cell phone towers have within 1 year's time of the tower's completion. I'm sorry, it says here. Due to the difficulties faced by rescue crews during Hurricane Katrina's power outages, the FCC enacted a requirement that all new cell towers have a backup power source. This ensures that vital cellular networks will be operational during a crisis when communication can be a matter of life or death. The backup power source must be functional within 1 year after the tower is placed in service. There are no exceptions to the backup power requirements, even for small towers attached to existing structures such as antennas, street lights, or church steeples. So that's another concern of mine, that a backup power source will be a generator that's going to have to be put on his property, and I'm sure we'll have regulations where it's going to have to run a certain time of day, whether it's weekly or monthly. So that's a noise concern that I have an issue with. Also, aviation regulations to prevent interference with air traffic routes. The FCC works jointly with the Federal Aviation Authority. Cell towers higher than 200 feet must register with the FAA, so air traffic controllers know the direct planes around them. Any towers that extend more than 20 feet beyond the top of any existing building must also be registered. Some of these towers must have certain types of lighting and paint colors to distinguish the towers from the horizons for air traffic. So I don't need to look out my window and see lights and a bright colored yellow tower. That's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any questions to that? Okay, thank you.
I have a question for staff. Did the applicant meet the signage requirements in placing them in an appropriate place? Natalie?
Upon receiving the concern, staff contacted the owner and asked the signs moved to the correct property. It was placed one property to the west by the state.
How long was it there? And, well, let me rephrase. How long was it in the proper location?
I believe I received it was the complaint from the letter, so I addressed it the same day the letter is addressed, which is, I believe, July 1st.
Okay. So, 7 days, it was in one sign or two signs? Clarify for me.
So there was one sign placed on the property. It was just slightly west of where it should have been placed. It was still on Route 30.
Okay, all right, and do we have two signs that are placed or only one?
Just one.
One.
One was required.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other objectors?
David, was it determined that the prior concerned citizens, should they have been noticed?
This is something I just looked at, and we're going to have to look at this tomorrow morning, because what it'll take is that there's, you look at the tax bill and identifies various companies and LLCs, and we'll have to look at the deeds to see who's on the deeds for ownership for several properties to confirm that, there wasn't a requirement of them to go over and beyond what they did.
Well, are they on the same deed as the landscaping company?
There's different LLCs on different properties around this that I checked, and we'll have to go in and look at the LLCs on the deeds and determine ownership of the adjacent property owners to confirm the deed notices were mailed correctly.
Will you be able to do that prior to the land use?
Yes, we'll do it tomorrow morning as best we can. And if there appears to be a discrepancy in noticing here, we'll confer with the state's attorney's office about the next appropriate step.
All right, thank you.
Okay, please take your name for record.
My name is Dennis Ash. I own the land directly connected to the said property, directly to the south and to the west of the landscaping company. This land filling that they've been doing has been going on well over a year, so it's obvious that the intentions have been going on for quite some time about this tower going in without anybody being notified. So it's kind of like there's been something going on behind our backs, first of all, okay? With that being said, I bought my property. First, I want to say I'm not very good at speaking to people, okay? So you got to kind of bear with me. I bought my property about 5 years ago. It didn't have no tower there. If it didn't have a tower, I wouldn't have bought it. Same as you guys, okay? It's unsightly. It's not very pretty. Nobody wants one in the side of their backyard, okay? If you do, let them put it in your yard. That's pretty much what I got to say. It's really not fair. Our home is our home, but it's also our investment. You put this tower in my backyard, and you're taking away my investment. My investment is not just for me. It's for my grandchildren. It's for my children. Don't do this to us. We do not deserve this. It's not fair. Do not allow this to happen. It's not fair. That's all I got to say.
I'd like to ask you a question. When you said that they did some excavation over that area where they're going to put a tower in your estimate, did they build it up? Did they build up that area, land there, or what did they do there?
They filled in the land probably a good, I would estimate 10 feet above its original height in variations. So much that I thought the existing trees were probably going to die over a period of time because roots don't grow down, they grow out. Okay, so if you backfill a tree so deep, the roots are now way down in the ground, okay? Yeah, this has been going on for quite some time. Now they've got grass growing over it, it looks real nice, okay? This has been going on for well over a year, okay?
I mean, can you stop?
Dirt.
Oh, the house was removed?
Oh yeah, there was a house in the garage there once. As a matter of fact, I even looked at the house at one time to buy when I was looking at a house, but it wasn't a very nice house, so I just passed it up, okay? Yeah, this has been going on for quite some time. These people knew what they were doing, and I don't know how it comes about when somebody decides they want a tower on their property, because it's all about money. Somebody gets paid to have a tower on their property by the telecommunications people, okay? This is not a utility where it's a necessity to have. It's not gas, it's not electric, okay? It's not water. This is somebody gains from this, okay? And it's just not fair that, and now they want to make it higher even, okay? So this is not right. This is not right at all. That's all I gotta say. And I just now found out from my very next door neighbor this morning about 8:30, 9 o'clock that this is happening. I saw the zoning sign, but I thought it was for an additional property for the landscape company. That's what I thought it was, and I just left it alone at that. Now when I found out they wanted to put a tower in there, I'm like, I gotta come and talk. I gotta say my piece, because squeaky wheel gets the oil in my beliefs in life, okay? Don't let this happen, people. Come on. Say right. Out of all this property around here, you gotta put a tower in my backyard. My property is adjacent to this. It connects to this property. This ain't right. It's not fair. That's all I gotta say.
Tammy Cherfisi. I strongly object to this. My property is exactly adjacent to this. I've been
Wait,
here.
to the east or to the west?
Well, I'm not going to that.
They're my neighbors.
They're right next to you?
I'm right in the middle of them.
She's next to me.
Yes, right between Dennis.
Next to ours.
Yes. I've been here 20 years in my house, and I strongly object to this because of the health risks and because of the value of the properties, mainly, and then all the other stuff. It's just ridiculous. I'm sure there's other properties where this can go. This is around a bunch of homes. This is ridiculous. But they summed up a lot, so I really...
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to respond?
David.
David? Please step up to the podium, sir.
Oh, sure.
Just hold on a second, he's going to make a statement.
Just to put this in the context, at least from the authority that the county has to regulate cell towers. The Will County zoning ordinance mirrors Illinois compiled statutes, which is Illinois state law. And that prescribes what the county can and cannot do with a lot of different zoning issues, including cell towers. The matter tonight is not whether or not a cell tower can be placed on the subject property. It deals specifically with a couple of variances that the carrier is requesting. In unincorporated Will County, again, which state law prescribes, cell towers are permitted in every zoning district within the county. State law only identifies a hierarchy of what's preferable to least preferable with regard to the particular zoning districts. And granted, in this particular instance, R-zone lots that are less than 2 acres in area used for residential purposes are the least desirable location, but they are permitted in those zoning districts. With regard to the acreage and the lot area. Now, with residential zoning districts, the maximum height is 75 feet. So if you have a residentially zoned piece of property that's 3 acres, you can have a cell tower that's 75 feet in height, provided it meets the setbacks of 50% of the cell tower's height from the lot line, as well as 15 feet from the front for equipment and 10 feet from the side and rears. So we experience this probably more often than I care to with regard to wireless facilities where there are residents that believe that the cell towers actually prohibited in that zoning district, which again, they're not. And it's nothing that the Will County Board has done or the staff has done with regard to what's in the zoning ordinance. It mirrors state law. And that is what the state of Illinois has prescribed that Will County can enforce.
Okay, is it because the county is mimicking what the state rules dictate?
The county ordinance mirrors state law.
It mirrors state law.
Yes.
So it mirrors state law, so this is what the state is saying.
Yes.
Okay, but in the same hand, they're asking for new variances because they don't meet those criteria.
That's correct. I did identify that they are requesting relief from a couple, two different items with regard to variances. But the underlying whether or not there can be a cell tower on the property is not the issue. It is a permitted use. It is authorized if it meets the setbacks and separation distances and height. It could be a permitted use. But again, I'm not suggesting that they're not requesting relief on this. They are. But I'm just trying to make clear is that the underlying issue, whether or not there's going to be a cell tower on this property, whether or not there can be, is not the issue. It's the variances.
So for clarification, even if we denied this, they could still put this up?
If they meet the separation and setback distances within that are prescribed within state law and the county zoning ordinance, and they do not exceed the maximum height.
I have a question for Matt. If the wireless company, if the company was denied all the way up the line, could they would definitely go to court. Would they get what they want by going to court?
That is a difficult answer to give because it's always going to be in the discretion of the court. You have to look to the law, and state law in this instance has already made a determination that this is an appropriate location for this facility, provided they met all the requirements under the zoning ordinance, which David has already stated. So this is something that is already presumed to be okay, provided they meet the other requirements.
And I do know, Natalie identified in her analysis some information regarding the variances, but state law also prescribes the criteria for variances for cell towers and includes whether but for the granting of variance and service that the carrier seeks to enhance provided the proposed facility will be less available and impair or diminish in quality, quantity, or scope of the coverage. Whether the conditions upon which application variations are unique in some respect, and if there's a strict application of those regulations will be a hardship on the carrier. Whether or not substantial adverse effect on public safety was going to result, and whether or not benefits derived by the users will be provided or enhanced by the facility, and whether or not the emergency services will be benefiting from this service as well, and whether or not the design of the facility reflects the compliance with landscaping and things of that nature. So it's a different set of criteria, and really it's whether or not it's going to, if you apply the strict regulations of the law, is it going to diminish the service and provide a hardship on the carrier, and a few other things. So
it sounds like it's one-sided, not for the carrier.
If I might comment, just try to put it in a somewhat broader context.
Please.
This is a major problem that has been confronting unincorporated Will County for years. We try to remain objective here, but I'm going to say what I feel. The industry has good lobbyists, and they have been able to influence the state legislature to set up a set of state laws that provide much less authority to counties to regulate towers in unincorporated areas. The regulations and the authority of incorporated jurisdictions over the location of cell towers is somewhat stronger. Now, what influences cell tower location, of course, I'm sure this gentleman could speak much more to the engineering and scientific dimensions about what is the best location to put one for the purposes of building out their network. But I don't believe that it is coincidence that many times when you're on a border area between a municipality and an unincorporated area, which we often run into, they choose to locate it on the unincorporated side because they're fully aware that the ability of the county to deny it is extremely limited. That, as David has told you, about the only thing we can address is not the fact that it's going in there, because state law says it can go in there. The only thing we can do is make sure that it adheres to our height limitations and to our setback limitations. And if it varies from that, we can go through the type of variance procedure that we're going through right now. But understandably, Will County residents of either unincorporated areas or incorporated areas that are immediately adjacent to these unincorporated locations that are proposed as sites, in their thinking, common sense thinking, surely the county must be able to decide whether or not a cell tower goes into that location. And I'm here to tell you that fundamentally, we can't. We can't.
You said, everybody keeps mentioning setbacks, but here we're asking for a request for variance from lot size. So obviously, they have to meet the lot size.
Yes, they have to meet those fundamental requirements with respect to lot size. But as far as the underlying use, you know, and that's why we're dealing with variances. But if they can, through the variance process, meet lot size requirements, setback requirements, height requirements, which is up to you to show, or up to you to decide. But of course, we make that decision on the basis of, have they demonstrated that they have experienced a problem as a result of the criteria that's laid out in the ordinance. We've reviewed it and we found that yes, they do have a problem that meets the criteria that's stipulated for this type of facility. But as you can hear from the comments that are quite understandable from surrounding citizens, their issue is not over the nuances of, is the lot big enough? Is the tower too high? Is the setback right? They don't want the damn thing at all. That's their concern, and it's quite understandable, but that's why David's going to some pains to explain to you and to everyone else that let's be clear about what we're really looking at here. Because we are subject to the requirements of state law, we really have little control over the fundamental question of whether this is an allowable use at that location. The only thing over which we do have control of these matters of lot size, height, and setback, and with respect to that decision, like we do every other variance request, we look at in terms of the criteria that's laid out in the law. I hope that's clarifying the matter. I don't know.
It is, very much so. Thank you.
Dave, go ahead, but, I can move this forward.
And also, too, for the residents right here, I've experienced this probably more often than I've cared to with regard to cell towers and the existing county's code and the county zoning ordinance. And so have the elected officials in the county. And I do know that they have expressed these concerns to the representatives in Springfield to try to get this addressed in Springfield through the state law. So these concerns are not going unnoticed, and they have been expressed to the board members and the board members, my constituents as well. And those concerns have been and are currently being expressed in Springfield.
Okay, thank you. Sir, would you like to respond to the...
Everything?
Sure thing. First of all, this isn't my first time before the board. I've been here a long time ago. I am past president of the Illinois State Wireless Association. Number one, and I don't want to sound like the bad guy, but under the federal law, the 1996 Telecommunication Act and the revised 2012 Telecommunication Act, because the federal government issues the spectrum to the wireless carriers, and the wireless carriers, for instance, just paid $49 billion to the federal government for the spectrum to operate. But under those regulations, the federal government is the sole entity that determines health and safety of wireless facilities. The federal government has made it clear that in the testifying before local zoning board, city councils, and things like that, health concerns are not to be an issue to be in the consideration of making the decision towards whether or not to have a cell tower at a particular location. Am I correct, Dave, with that statement?
I would say, yes, I'm correct. It's the federal government does regulate health concerns. So,
because the federal government is responsible for the operation, meaning the testing, the overseeing, and all that. That's all part of it. And to just give you an idea where the health issue has been even looked at, and I'll just talk about it briefly. American Cancer Society has done an in-depth study relating to health concerns and cell towers and cell phones. And they've concluded that it's not an issue. The World Health Organization has looked at it. There's more of a concern of you standing in front of your microwave waiting for your cup of coffee to receive the waves coming that you're going to get off the cell tower. And we're not blasting down, we're blasting tower to tower. That's how we operate. With regard, I made some notes. We go through a great deal of effort to try not to build a tower. When we build a tower, all said and done, before we turn dirt and everything else, we have spent several hundreds of thousands of dollars. We go through rigorously review process. We go through the federal government, the FCC, the FAA. Regarding the FAA, we have to file with the FAA. We have come back with a no concern at this site, meaning no lights, no painting, no sound, no strobe, none of that. This facility will be unlit. Regarding the generator, yes, the federal government has asked that we start hardening the facilities. And I'll explain exactly why we harden the facilities. Last week we had a tornado that just tore through the south end of this county. Last night, if you were listening to TV, you heard 911 calls. How were those 911 calls made? They were made through the cellular network. We stayed up. We stayed up when the tornadoes went through Washington County. Those calls were instantly put through the wireless network. The 911 system was up and operating through that. So yes, we want to harden the facility because in the event of something catastrophic where we lose Commonwealth Edison, the industry immediately is turned over to either battery backup, which we normally have anywhere from 4 to 8 hours on site, and then we go into a generator process. If we're adjacent to natural gas, we use natural gas to power the generator. If we have to, we do on-site fuel storage in accordance with the Illinois State Fire Marshal, and the appropriate permits are taken. And normally we have a 3-day supply to keep the site on air. Another thing that is going on, the local exchange carriers have filed with the state of Illinois that as of 2025, they're asking to be disconnected from the regulatory process that they're currently in. Meaning, your telephone bill is subject to a regulated rate that they have to file with the Illinois Commerce Commission what their fees and charges are going to be. Because in the 6-county area, only 7% of the population currently operates with a landline-only position. The local exchange carriers are asking that they no longer be regulated by the state of Illinois, and at the same time, they're in Washington. As the states come up, they're asking to be deregulated, meaning that after 2025, when this all takes effect, your bill will no longer be regulated because the demand of wireless systems going in place. So therefore, if it costs $250 or $150 to bring that landline, to maintain that landline in your house that you want to keep after 2025, you're going to pay that, whatever that charge is, and if you need maintenance on it, you're going to pay that, because the carriers are seeing the moving over to a wireless nation.
Okay, you know what, I appreciate all your information on regards to the industry.
Sure.
But we just, at this point, if you have any comments about the concerns of the people that came down here, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear that, you know, all the FCC, you know, this, that. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear address what the people have to say. If you don't have anything to address, then move on.
Regarding the question that they have about landfilling going on, yes, there was a house there. And so in turn, what was being done on that property was basically backfilling where the house was removed. To make
Disagree. Please, you had your chance to speak. The only one that's speaking here is me, the commissioners, and the gentleman here or the staff.
As someone mentioned, it's nice and green, grass has been planted and things like that. So that's what their neighbor has been attempting to do. And their neighbor hasn't been at this for the purpose of putting the cell tower on his property for over a year. He hasn't. This wasn't started with this property owner until November of last year.
Okay, anything else?
And otherwise, we're placing it there because that's where our network is telling us we need to be, and we've supplied the necessary documentation to support that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on now. Yes.
On case 6244-32, make a motion for a variance for a cell tower height from 75 feet to 105 feet.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? I think that, you know, this, believe me, I'm the first person to complain, hey, I don't have service, you know, or I can't get my email. But, you know, Lincoln Estates, I'm not sure if some of you have been familiar with that area. Lincoln Estates has been there probably 40 years longer than I've been on this planet. It's been there forever. And it's really, pardon?
1935.
1935, okay.
20
20 years. So it's an area that's got a lot of homes that's been there a long time. And I know there's a lot of change going through there. A lot of change. It's going from basically a bedroom area to a commercial area because of widening of the road. And I know there's going to be changes. But my opinion is, you know, I understand we need the cell phones, but, you know, sometimes the locations that they pick, to me, are not the best. Because I personally would not want this in my backyard or where I could see it from my backyard. And I understand the proximity to Route 30 that you're at, but that's been a home, that's been a bedroom area for 80 years, so, or 7 years. So I just don't like this location. I'm just saying, that's what I'm going on record to say. So at this time, I'd like a roll call vote.
Okay. The variance is for cell tower height from 75 feet to 105 feet. Carruthers.
No.
Lager.
Yes.
Mitchell. No. Peterson votes no. Stippen.
No.
White.
No.
Chairman Lund-Malone.
No. Next, we have a request for a second variance.
On the same case number 6244-32, make a motion for a variance for a lot area from 2 acres to 38,459.5 square feet.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion?
Carruthers.
Roll call vote.
No.
Lager.
Yes.
Mitchell. No. Peterson votes no. Stippen.
No.
White.
No.
Chairman Lund-Malone.
No. Both motions fail. This case is being brought before the Land Use Department tomorrow at what time?
Tomorrow morning, this room at 9:30 in the morning.
So if anyone wants to attend this tomorrow, it is in this room tomorrow. And I do believe it ends up going to county board. On what day? Next county board
The
meeting?
county board, it's the 16th. Isn't that?
And tomorrow's meeting is at 10 o'clock.
Oh, 10 o'clock, I'm sorry.
10 o'clock tomorrow, and on the 16th in this room at what time?
The county board.
At what time?
9:30 county board on the 16th.
What time? 9:30 on the 16th, okay, thank you.
But there's stipulations if you want to speak at the county board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And David or
You sign up?
Yeah,
For tomorrow also, should you wish to speak, come and sign in on the signage.
Thank you. Next case on the agenda, case 6250-B. We have a request from Wolverine outline for variance. Kimberly, from our staff.
Good evening. Zoning case 6250-B takes place in Lockport Township. The petitioner requests variance for a rear setback from 40 feet to 21 feet. The purpose is to bring a recently constructed accessory building into compliance. The building is used to house control equipment. Permission was granted by the Land Use Department prior to the issuance of the variance to avoid a hardship caused by a lapse of work to union workers. The applicant constructed the control room at their own risk. Here are four pictures for you to view. Due to the conditions on the site, there is no other suitable location to construct the control room. One, there are 2 high-pressure pipelines, 16 inches in diameter on the property, underground. And second, there is considerable slope on the property. The electrical trays were needed above ground, and you can see the structure was placed on concrete pylons to avoid the underground equipment. The general location is the east side of New Avenue and south of Romeo Road. The property is zoned I-3, with surrounding properties zoned industrial and manufacturing, and incorporated in the city of Lockport to the east. Here's the site with the control room. You can see the topography on the site plan indicates the considerable slope. Staff recommendation is approval of variance for rear setback from 40 feet to 21 feet. This concludes staff analysis.
Thank you, Kimberly. Any questions of Kimberly on this case? Okay. Is the applicant here tonight? Are there any objectors to this particular case in the audience? The applicant, would you like to come down? You don't have to, unless any of the commissioners have a question to answer. No? Okay. On case 6250-B, I'd like to entertain a motion for the requested variance.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number 6250-B, I would move for approval of a variance for rear setback from 40 feet to 21 feet.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I do believe we have some paperwork for you. Next case on the agenda, case 6253-S, American Enterprise Bank. We have a request for a special use permit. Kim from our staff will look at the case.
Thank you. Zoning case 6253-S takes place in Wheatland Township. The applicant would like to request a special use permit for light equipment sales and rentals. The purpose is to allow the sales and rentals of recreational vehicles. The parcel is 9.39 acres and located along Route 59. Boat sales previously occurred on the property. The general location is south side of Route 59, north of 103rd. The current zoning is I-1. It is surrounded by City of Naperville and commercial use and residential to the west. The applicant proposes to remove a building in poor repair and proposes to construct a new addition. There are 6 conditions attached to the special use. Staff recommends approval of special use permit for light equipment sales and rentals. That concludes staff analysis.
Any questions of staff? We have a question here.
I have 3 conditions listed here. The special use permit on the light equipment sales.
Yeah, there are 3.
Yeah, there's three.
I apologize. I counted the building permit as one, the need for the site plan.
So we're gonna have 3 or 6?
The actual conditions would be 3, technically.
The other 3 will be normal process?
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number 6253-S, I move for approval of a special use permit.
All right, hold on a second. Are there any objectors to this case? No. The applicant, you want to come down? Would you like to or not?
Mr. Long?
Yes, please come down.
Give 10 seconds of information.
We're sitting there facing these guys, so we're going to let them speak.
All right. I appreciate the motion. Tom Osterberger on behalf of petitioner. We have Paul and John Dresselhaus, the owners of U.S. Adventure RV. I think you've seen pictures. The building's been abandoned, terrible, deplorable, and their plan is to do something like this. Kimberly was correct. We have to comply with lighting, all the building permits, and but they're going to sell, keep jobs in Will County, and keep sales tax in Will County. So it's a great project, and we just seek your approval.
Any questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you. One day I promise I'll get your name pronounced right.
Sorry.
Scott?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number 6253-S, I would move for approval of a special use permit for light equipment sales and rentals.
With the 3 conditions.
As
We have
outlined in the report.
a motion with the 3 conditions in a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Please sign.
Next on the agenda, we have 3 public hearings for some zoning ordinance text amendments. And Dave Du Bois, our staff, will open this up.
No, please, where are you? No.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, you have to be here.
Yes, David.
Good evening. We'll do these 3 text amendments separately. What I'd recommend is I'll identify what the text amendment is, have you motion to open a public hearing, take public comment, and then close the public hearing, and then make a motion to forward the public comments to the Land Use Development Committee. So there are 3 of them. There's craft breweries, distilleries, truck terminals, and interpretive murals. So with the first one, the craft breweries and distilleries, I'd recommend you open a public hearing with a motion.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The public hearing for the craft breweries and distilleries is now open. Is there any public comment? This time I'd like to make a motion to close the public. Oh, you do? I'm sorry.
Public, and I'd like to make a comment. I understand the beer 1 pint, because normally when you go to a tasting, they bring it down to 1 or 2 ounce little containers, so you can taste 4 different types of beer and still be under your 1 pint. But 1 ounce of distilled spirits, even though it has the same alcoholic content, it's pretty hard to bring that down if the guy wants you to taste 2 or 3 different kinds. And I'm just curious if there's a way to amend that to, say, 3.5 ounces or something, I'm just thinking about the people who have the businesses.
Exactly. That's the same thing I brought up earlier.
Right. Well, first of all, what this is that we already have one operating distillery within the county, and they did go through zoning to be able to have the services that they do. And in the current ordinance, for craft brewers and distilleries to sell the product they produce on premise from the site requires a special use now, and sampling also would require a special use. It requires 2 special uses. So what this effectively does is that wherever you have a brewer or distillery, that's licensed by the state, and in the county either is a special use or is a permitted use, these two particular accessory uses would be allowed by right, so there'd be no additional zoning action. Now, to get to your point of the quantity, what I did was I looked at the recently approved ordinance in the village of Oswego and how they limited quantities, and this mirrors what they have in their ordinance. Now, I didn't get into looking at body weight, height, how often a person consumes alcohol, things of that nature. So the total quantities are not, it's 1 pint for beer and 1 ounce of distilled. And again, that can be cut up into different quantities for serving purposes. Now, if the commission has comments that we can forward to the committee tomorrow at different quantities, and we will do so, but I had not given thought to any additional quantities on these.
So I agree with you. I think that particular one, the beer, they can give you 2 or 3 ounces or 4 ounces of beer. But I think the distilled spirits is 1 ounce. I'm not promoting drinking, but I think if they have 4 or 5 different types that someone's looking to buy, it may exceed that. And I think that's something that's going to be visited by the people that do have it. And I just think it's something that, within reason, they should take a look at and see what may work for everyone.
Sure. Okay.
Any other comments? At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the craft brewery and distilleries text amendments with the comments as made this evening.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, you have truck terminals?
Truck terminals. We've had a few different truck terminals come through the county as special use permits. And there are times when the individuals look into the zoning ordinance to see how it's defined. The zoning ordinance does not specifically define truck terminal. So then it goes to Merriam-Webster's unabridged online version dictionary as the default. And there's no specific definition for truck terminal. So then the third layer of that is interpretation by the department. And the definition that's here before you this evening is consistent with the department's interpretation for all the different special uses and how we advise individuals on what a truck terminal is. And it defines a facility principally used for the parking, storage, dispatching, and maintenance or repair of trucks, tractor trailers, and semi-trailers. And again, this would actually codify then our interpretation as we've been applying it.
I have a question though about number. The reason I ask is if somebody has 4 trucks at a gas station, would that make it a truck terminal now? Or are you talking about larger numbers for truck terminal?
The thing is that commercial vehicles at a gas station, the principal purpose is not necessarily for the storage and dispatching and maintenance of the trucks. It's just to...
yeah, but there are some in our county that do that. There's one out in off of Manhattan Road that has, he hauls trucks off the highways when they're broken down, and he repairs trucks and to repair his buses. And would he be considered a truck terminal, or would he be considered a gas station?
I don't believe so. I think there's provisions in the zoning ordinance that deal with automobile and truck servicing and repair. So there's specific provisions that deal with that. This is more again to deal with the facilities that have the parking, storage, including and dispatching and the maintenance of a fleet.
Okay.
The tractor trailers, the rigs. There may be some cross docking, but it's not typically necessarily associated with what we consider a long-term warehouse. This could be included. This also could include the transfer of commodities between trucks and dispatching, things of that nature.
Would you like those comments to be heard in the public hearing when we open it for you?
I was just.
You want that to be? We're going to open up the public hearing. You want those to go in, be entered in the public hearing?
Yes, I'd like.
Okay.
I just want.
Can we open that public hearing? Okay. This time I'd like to entertain a motion to open up the public hearing for the text amendment changes for the truck terminal. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, public hearing is now open, and does he have to repeat those to get them into the public hearing? Or you want to repeat them briefly?
I'll repeat it briefly. I just was curious as to whether or not there was a designation number to determine what, by size, what a truck terminal was as opposed to a facility that maybe parked 4 vehicles overnight or something like that. I just wanted that see if there was a clarification in the designation. I think that he gave me a good clarification, but that wasn't during public hearings.
Okay, are there any other comments? This time I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the tax amendments for the truck terminals as written, and also for the public comment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the interpretive murals. David?
Okay. On the last one, with interpretive murals, text amendment deals with modifying the text as originally placed in the ordinance to provide provision to allow for the Route 30 corridor interpretive murals that the state had put in. One's in the Frankfurt Township facility, and there's one in New Lenox as well. And what those were categorized under signs allowed without sign permits, or being governmental institutional signs, flags, emblems, and plaques. We've had an individual that has expressed an interest in putting up an interpretive mural on private property on the side of the water. And the text amendment would not just address her concerns, but the others that may have a similar intention, where the effect of the text amendment is to eliminate the exemption from governmental institutional signs, flags, and emblems, and plaques as signs without permits. So basically, it removes it from actually being a sign, and puts it into the definition, modifies the definition of interpretive mural as basically being a work of art that may include text. It doesn't have to be on public property, and it does provide a maximum square footage. It is not to basically provide a commercial message. So it can be an interpretive mural, it can be a work of art, it can have some text on it as long as it doesn't exceed 200 square feet, and it doesn't, again, convey or direct attention to a business or commodity, or basically advertise. So that's what this text amendment will do.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the draft text amendments for the interpretive mural.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is now open. Do we have any comments? At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the draft text amendment for the interpretive murals.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's all on our agenda. The only comment I had was, I did note that case that we have with the Dunkin' Donuts tonight, Kurt and David, I think that this is something the county may want to look at because there's a frontage issue there, okay, on that commercial lot. I just want you, I'm sure you're aware of this, but a lot of commercial entities such as fast food places like McDonald's and Taco Bell, and they used to have a footprint, okay, that would be like a McDonald's would sit 150 people. Now you go down the road and they're only seating 40 or 50 people. So I think that the buildings are shrinking on these places, so that may affect their lot frontage too. I'm not sure if that's something that the county's considering, that it may change. I know a lot of them are put in shopping malls, but sometimes you'll have your one-off here and there where these buildings are shrinking and maybe their frontage may not meet the criteria. So I'm not sure if that's something that down the road the county may have to adjust for that.
Take it under advisement.
Okay. Any other comments from staff?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to share with the commission, although we don't often have the pleasure of your company visiting us in our offices, you're always welcome. I want you to know in that regard that all the activities that used to be on the 5th floor of our office location at 58 East Clinton have now been moved to the 1st floor where the recorder's offices used to be. We've been operating now there for probably a little over 6 weeks, I would say at this point. But we're quite proud of the new facility. We tried to do a number of things to make it more customer-facing and much more a place where people will be able to transact their business with the land use department in a comfortable but also an efficient manner. So we certainly would welcome you at any time to come by and take a look.
You still have open houses?
I think you should have one.
We have, one is under consideration, yes.
Because
now you don't have to take the small elevator and wonder whether it's going to stop halfway up.
Well, that's right. I mean, we've been talking for a long time about how it probably wasn't the greatest decision in all time to have the main customer service area on the 5th floor with some, unfortunate elevators. So now moving it down to the 1st floor, obviously a lot more direct customer access.
So that's very nice.
Yes.
Visit if you have an open house.
Great. And I think
we got to have food.
You can prepare for us to come. Oh no, here they come.
well, I really think that everybody should be invited. Larry's staff, the county board.
We're looking at having such an
Good. And get food. I don't care if it's in your budget or not. You gotta go first class. You let them know that land use is the top division. Get food.
Anything else? This time I'd like to entertain a motion to close. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting closed. Thank you.